I'm doing another divorce log. Basically, it was another weekend. It was very relaxing. Nothing really stressful happened. It was quite nice. The kids are kind of saying they want back in their bedrooms and all that stuff, and I keep telling them, I'm trying to get that to happen. Everything is about making things easier on them because they're the innocent bystanders in all this. They did nothing to deserve this. And I need to be their advocate, and I seem to be the only person advocating for them, and just trying to make things the easiest for them right now. Their mom hasn't tried contacting them from what I've noticed. My oldest has said he's not gotten anything from her. That's on her. Nothing to do with me. I've been with them, taking care of them, doing everything, playing games with them, washing their laundry, feeding them, making sure they're happy. For almost 4 weeks now. And 4 weeks before that, and all the weeks before that, because whatever. But I did do some deep thinking. I'm gonna have a more in-depth video about it later on, probably later today or soon. And it's basically about things that my wife had been talking about that I thought that I should probably look into, just because that's like obviously what's on her mind, which other than sex is not much. Basically, she called herself a codependent, body-doubling, ADHD person. So I really thought I should look into that more. And like the ADHD, I don't really believe. Yeah, she could never finish college. She could never finish any of the projects she ever started. She could never finish anything. She'd make these big plans, and once she set those plans into action, she would just fail. She wasn't that she couldn't do them, because she was perfectly capable of doing everything. She would just get bored of it, just like she got bored of me. She would just get bored and not do it anymore. I don't really think it was an ADHD thing, because, and the perfect example is the fact that she got a new job. She's been told by all of her managers and everyone that she's an amazing worker. They need more workers like her. Usually workers take so long to catch on, but she's so quick to learn everything, and she doesn't need to be shadowed for nearly as long as everyone else, and she's doing such a great job. It's so amazing. Someone who has ADHD doesn't just have it sometimes. You don't just go and have ADHD, here and there. It happens all the time. So how can she be such a good worker and such a strong, dedicated worker, and yet all the rest of the time the ADHD? I mean, that's one thing. When she first started the job, I was very concerned about her getting to her job on time and being reliable in that sense, because so many times she will just not do. She's almost never on time for anything. It's always a rush at the last minute to try and get out the door, and everything's late. We're always late for everything, when I always want to be on time or early. And with previous things, I would always have to remind her, you gotta go, and all this stuff. For some reason, suddenly she can always be on time for a job where she has to be there by 5 in the morning, and she does this great, amazing job, and she's able to run all these machines and do it all really well, and she's not ADHD. It's only at her convenience. Then there's this body doubling thing. Maybe you research body doubling. There's a report by a scientific journal that basically describes body doubling as a term that was created within internet forums about ADHD. So it's not even a valid psychological term. It's some made-up term by a bunch of people on the internet. So they're just trying to explain away and always have reasons as to why things are the way they are. She was using it as the reason why every time I would get up to clean the house, that's when she would get up to clean the house. I could spend the whole day, every time I would get up from my seat and go walk into another room, and I would pick things up as I go, and kids left some garbage here, left a plate there, I'll pick it up as I go because I'm going into the kitchen anyway, and I would just do that all throughout the day. But once I actually went to go do some serious cleaning, like clean off the messy countertops or clean some area where it was just messy and it was driving me nuts, that's when she would get up and actually start doing stuff. And it was frustrating because it's like when you have your kid and your kid's been bitching at you for an hour and they want something so bad, and you finally give it to them, and you're thinking, oh, they're really going to be happy and appreciate this, and they don't even give you a thank you. So then you're like, excuse me, what do you say? Thank you. And it takes away from all of everything. It takes away from everything having to ask someone to say thank you. I mean, when it's kids, they're kids and you're teaching them what to do, but it's much the same thing. It's so frustrating, infuriating, and it makes everything feel like, okay, so I would always feel when she would do this to me like I had to start everything, and I hated it. I just hated it. It made it feel like it wasn't important unless I made it important. It wasn't important, and such. So many things in our life didn't happen until I did them. Pretty much almost everything, and it just made me bonkers. It was like every time we took trips, every time we went to fun places, every time we did much of anything, it was always because I was like, okay, we need to do something fun. There was never suggestions or communication from my wife, and that's a big thing. The lack of communication and all that is really the big reason why I had absolutely no interest in her. I could never communicate with her, and I could never talk to her. I never had any kind of deep connection in any way with her, especially in the last several years. And so that really killed me. I mean, I had absolutely no attraction to her because of the fact that I couldn't even talk to this woman. I had no idea what was going on, except for the few things she would let me know about. It was never stuff I wanted to talk about. There was never any deep connection. I could never open up to her. I had to get a therapist in order to go and have someone to talk to, because I couldn't actually talk to my wife. I had no one at all to talk to. So she tried to convince me that I'm asexual, and for whatever reason I believed it, just like I believed that I was bipolar and all this crap, because I was always trying to I was getting to a point where I didn't understand myself, because I had been giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving, and I just lost every ounce of my own being. And I just would, when someone else said, oh, you're this or that, I would just believe them, because it was like, okay, I guess at least I'm something, because I don't feel like I'm anything. And that comes into the whole codependence thing, where she would talk about codependence and that she was a codependent. She never actually went into the details of what it was or emphasized things about it. So if she had known so much about it and understood it so well, she would have actually told me not so much that she was a codependent, but that we were in a codependent relationship, as in we were both codependent and such like that. Because when I was reading about it, I'm definitely the giver or the caregiver of the relationship, where I would just keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and doing everything to the point where I'm trying to constantly please someone, her, and I'm basically losing myself entirely. And that was 100% true. I didn't see it for a long time, but now that I look back, it started right at the beginning of a relationship. It worked at first. A relationship's supposed to be a give and take, compromise, back and forth, an equal give and take. And our relationship, it was me constantly giving and her constantly taking. And it's amazing to me how I would have assumed that like the giver was the one in control, because they have the control of, they keep giving things and whatnot. But it's actually, you research it, the taker is the one in control. And it's not even a control like a visible control. It's this like mind-altering, brainwashing, secret government flashing images on your TV type of control that you don't notice. That the taker knows that the giver wants to keep pleasing and doing things, so the taker takes advantage of it in a way that benefits them without the giver noticing. And so the problem here is that she got to the point where she got so greedy and she was wanting so much attention, and that's exactly what it was. That's because they talk about with this codependent nature that the taker always has some sort of addiction. Her addiction is attention, and I wasn't giving her the attention that she wanted because I wasn't getting anything in return. I can't have a relationship with someone who has absolutely no personality or interest or communication skills. For me, I'm not asexual. I'm simply a person who needs to have a deep connection with someone in order to be able to be attracted to them. I was not at all attracted to her for the last long portion of the marriage, especially the last couple of years, because there was absolutely no connection at all. We had absolutely nothing in common. I would buy her sexy outfits and she would act like my taste was terrible. I would try and talk to her about things and she would just blow me off and tell me, oh, I don't want to talk about this right now. And she would never want to talk about it ever. It was just like, we were basically roommates. She would sit on the couch and I'd sit on the couch and we were in the same room together, but that's as far as it went. A lot of our relationship, the only time she ever could talk to me was by text message, and she claimed it was because she didn't want others to hear, and there were kids around and all this. So I think it was really that she just had... It's really that when she speaks, when she actually talks, she makes no sense. She's very contradictory. And when you're text messaging, you're able to write it, read it, revise it before you send it, and think about things. When you're talking, you just talk. You just say what's on the top of your mind. And she definitely just didn't have the ability to communicate verbally that well at all. She just couldn't do it. And I never really realized it. I would just cope with what we would find acceptable, sending text messages or whatever. And now it's weird how when you leave a situation, you see it totally differently. So, typically they say the givers in these codependent relationships are the females, but it's not always the case. They also say the takers are the narcissists. And a narcissist is someone who basically projects everything about themselves on everyone else and acts like they're just this perfect being who never does anything wrong and is amazing, and it totally fits her. I'm really glad to have realized this now before I'm too old, that I'm not actually asexual. I do have interest in sex. I just have to have a good relationship and connection with the person. And I'm not this horrible person. I just was giving too much, and I need a relationship where there's equal give and take back and forth, like a healthy relationship. So it's good. It's good stuff. It's, you know, if you had asked me a month or two ago that I was and told me I was getting divorced, I wouldn't believe you. But now that it's happening, I'm finding so much good stuff out of it, and it's so beneficial. It's like, it's weird how bad things have good results. Good things come out of them and such, because you don't ever realize it until it's happened. And that's definitely what's happening here for me. I'm not this horrible guy. I was just lost and being taken advantage of. And so now that that's not the case, now that she can go take advantage of other people, lie to other people, like her family, so that she gets the attention she wants, I am no longer responsible for it. So now I can be responsible for my own health and well-being and take care of my kids better, because of it and be happier. And that's definitely what's happening.